Hi, thank you for joining us. Here we are again with Dr. Krish, Rawal, Medical Director of the Infinity Group. And today we have Mary Jane Feeke, who's here as well. She is a nutritionist working with the Infinity Group as well. And basically what they want is to make the best of you, make you be the best you can. Krish and I had a long chat about it before, about wellness and living healthier for longer. And today's aspect of the chat and of the podcast is about stress awareness. April is Stress Awareness Month, and we want to tell you about how you can avoid getting stressed. And there are many little things that you probably think, I'm not stressed, I'm by the pool, but you're looking at your phone. So we're going to tell you some little tweaks that you can change in your daily life, which are going to help you. And well, it's lovely to be here with you guys.
Great, thank
again.
you. Yes, lovely, lovely to see you, MJ. So you're absolutely right. April Stress Awareness Month. So you could ask the question, why would we have a whole month of stress awareness? There are lots of very important awareness campaigns that the public are very aware of and everyone's aware of. But why stress? So really, from my perspective, we're here to talk about not only what stress causes, but also what we can do about it.
Right.
And everybody knows about stress. Oh, I'm stressed and I'm tired and all of these things. And, you know, we often say that we live in a much, much more stressful society and environment than we ever did. And there's no question about that.
Absolutely right.
And actually, from a medical perspective, there are many, many, many acute and chronic medical conditions which perhaps in the past, in the medical textbooks, we would have purely medical reasons and causes. But now, very interesting, a lot of them, maybe close to 80 or 90%, I would hazard a guess, although the last time I read a medical textbook was a very long time ago, but have stress somewhere in there. Yeah. But it's a very vague term, isn't it? It's just very, well, it's stress, but what is it? So really, the key is that stress itself is the body's response to any kind of stress or anything where the body is being challenged.
Okay.
So at that point, the body responds by producing adrenaline. Adrenaline is we hear of it, this fight or flight reaction. So essentially the adrenaline is released into your system from your adrenal glands, which are little glands that sit on top of your kidneys, floods into your system through the whole of your system. And if you think of it in a kind of evolutionary perspective, it's designed to make you hyper alert. You're running away or you're going to fight. So
it's your body's reaction to, wait a minute, something's happening. It's like a warning sign, yes. And then you start feeling all these things to keep you.
So heightened alertness, very important. Speed up everything in the body. What's quite interesting, that everything, off you go. And a lot of people, you'll feel this buzz, this absolute whirring in here. All the non-essential bits kind of shut down. Your stomach, your gut all shuts down. But your brain is hyper aware. Your heart's going, your lungs are going, you're breathing faster.
Yeah.
So if you think of that in the context of, I'm going to react to something, fine, because then I'm either going to run very, very fast in the opposite direction, or I'm literally going to turn around and fight whatever it is that's now threatening me, because that's how I'm designed.
Yes.
Which is fine for that little bit where you run away, at the other end of which you go, and down comes your adrenaline.
There's an end to it.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
The important part, right? Yeah.
So the reason we are aware of stress is not because I want everybody to jump out of their sofa and say, right, I'm going to fight something. It's there because Stress Awareness Month is about chronic stress. Chronically affecting the body.
Chronic is what? Like that it just doesn't go away.
Doesn't go, no end. Is that what MJ said? No end.
No end. So basically, when your body has made your blood pressure go higher, and it's made your digestion not work properly because you think you're about to fight a lion, when you have chronic stress, all of those symptoms stay in place, but for a long period of time, and because of that, they can cause chronic conditions.
Yeah. So if exactly what MJ says. So if you're running that, the best way to think of it is sit in your car, close the door, switch the engine on, and put your foot on gears in neutral, and put your foot on the accelerator. That is stress. So for a short period of time, as you're driving up a hill, great, but put your foot on the accelerator and leave it there for 24 hours and see what happens to your car at the end of it.
Yeah.
Because the car at some point you'll run out of fuel, and then you'll just go, right, enough is enough, the engine's broken, thank you very much. Whereas the irony is we live in this stressful environment, and a lot of the time our response to it is, no, I'm being strong, I'm being resilient, I'm being brave because I'm thriving off the stress and I'm loving the stress. but your body is not, and that's really important.
And why do we nowadays have chronic stress more than before, for example?
I would think it's really just the demand of how work is nowadays. I think that's the biggest thing, and that's I guess personally what it was, is that we live in a world where you don't just work a 9-to-5 job. You have social media, you have WhatsApp, you have all these different technologies. You actually can be reached 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And even just email, for example, someone can hear their email pinging and they could have 30 or 40 emails that they have to read, and that causes that chronic stress.
You're constantly alert the whole time.
Exactly.
You don't get a break.
Yeah.
So it's about the brain being alert and not being able to just stop.
Switch off. Yeah, and the body being alert, the whole thing, the whole system being alert. And after a while, not only does the body become tired, and of course the adrenal glands are only they're little things, they run out of adrenaline essentially, but the body's still demanding more. But the rest of you, if you run, for example, your heart faster, the heart eventually is going to start getting tired as well. The brain's going to become exhausted because there are only so many things you can compute at any one time. And so that's where this chronic stress leads to not only fatigue, mental and physical fatigue, and we've heard that phrase adrenal fatigue, which is essentially that, but also chronic health conditions, because all of these things, eventually, every little precious bit of your body has let's be honest, has a bit of a shelf life. And if you run it too fast, we're going to wear it out.
So what is the best solution to reducing stress? Now, this is a big question. But I mean, both of you have a lot, I think, to bring to the table. Krish, you in the medical sense, and you, MJ, you're dealing with patients as well every day. So
I think that what we were just discussing earlier was one of the biggest things is the realization of a person knowing that they are under chronic stress. Some of it is just that acceptance, that they realize that their body is not working the way that it should be, and that they do have chronic stress. Often people will just think they're a really busy person and it's just a phase of my life, or there's different thoughts like that, and they don't actually accept the fact that they maybe have to make some changes in their life to make sure that their health stays well for long term.
And that is actually, that's a very, very good point. There's a certain element of acceptance, and it almost is like a little creep. So, you start your working career and you're working a little bit longer, and you go, well, I'm just a bit tired and a little bit more stressed, and it gets worse and worse and worse, and gradually stress becomes a normal part of.
And that's when the problems start happening.
Yes, because of course
that's when your body starts saying, wait a minute,
I've had enough. And those are the days that you're exhausted. When you finish your day, those are the days when your weekend is spent desperately trying to recover. And also, actually, a lot of people notice they're fully weak, they're looking forward to their weekend. Saturday, they have an irritable day, I call it. There's a day when they're kind of de-stressing. So the fizz is coming out of and they're really, really irritable and fed up. And then you get to Sunday and they go, oh God, it's Monday.
Now I have to go to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
Totally. So there's never a recovery. And that's very, very difficult for people to kind of beat. And so really the key is that little awareness of, and this is interesting what MJ said, this is not about awareness of stress. Oh, I'm stressed. Actually, let's be honest, we're all stressed. Stressed, It's awareness of that we have chronic stress in our lives. It's a very different thing to say I'm stressed versus actually I have stress that could affect my health.
Yes.
Is that right?
So what do we do about it?
Well, I think there's many things that can be done, and exercise is one of the first things that's really important, is that we're looking after our body and making sure that all of our body is working as it should and is strong. So cardiovascular health, our nervous system, all of that can at least be supported by exercise, full stop. So exercise, tick, that's a great one. And then there's different types of exercise that'll actually benefit in different ways.
So, and actually, exercise, if you want to really, really bring it down to what we were talking about earlier, if your body is filled with adrenaline all the time and you exercise, you burn off the adrenaline. So even whatever you do exercise-wise, you've actually already done something stress relief purely and simply by getting that adrenaline out of your system. So that's very important. Yeah.
So with the Infinity Group,
Yes.
you can do
Yes.
that
Yes.
in a
Of
lot
course
of
you can.
places.
Yes.
Yes, all
Which is
over.
what I want to hear.
So you could be, by the time you've been to all the locations,
Yeah.
you could be the most relaxed person.
chilled out.
Yes.
Yeah,
Really chilled
that's
out.
kind of the plan.
But we were chatting earlier, MJ was saying, oh, because I do belong to the Infinity Group's spa and gym, and I
Yes.
go. And one of the things that you wanted to talk about was the fact that people can approach you. So now that you're on the podcast, hopefully people will
Yes.
recognize
Yes, good.
you.
Definitely.
Yes.
They'll see me
And-
there,
yeah.
especially in the sauna.
Yeah.
I mean, I have all
So-
my favorite classes, but
Tell me about the sauna, because you said the sauna was very good for.
yeah, well, it does help with stress relief, but overall, it's really great for detoxifying your body. And what I find is that when I'm in the sauna, because it's not good for my phone, I'm never on my phone.
Good, I was about to say, yes,
I set
exactly.
a
You can't
timer.
take it with you.
Yeah, you can't take it with you because it's going to overheat, which is bad for it. And it's something that takes some time to do. But when you take the time in the sauna, you might start only with 5 minutes. 5 minutes is easy. You might
Yeah.
build up to 10 or 15 or 20 minutes. It can be quite hot for some people, so it takes some time. But that 5 minutes is a great place to start with looking after yourself and starting to build some of that stress resilience.
Yeah.
Is that after exercise or before?
In actual fact, after exercise is very good because your muscles are already warm and it helps stretch out the muscles a little bit, particularly, of course, this is the irony. You're stressed, you do some kind of high intensity class, you don't have the time to wind down. No,
Yeah.
I've got to do this, I've got to go to this. So
You sit in the sauna.
plus,
interesting, actually.
you can in
sauna
theory
from
do it on your own. Why
Yeah.
not just do it? I know it's very difficult because people are leaving chronically stressed often go, no, I can't sit by the pool, I can't go to a sauna on its own because it's time wasted. That's
Yeah.
what they think, isn't it?
But it's
You
not.
could in theory go and just sit in the sauna for the sake of sitting in the sauna.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
It's quite nice. I have been to the E1
Yes, it's lovely.
spa,
lovely.
and it's
Lovely.
such a lovely
Yeah.
place, and
Yeah.
it smells nice.
But I
It's
say
really
I challenge
great.
anyone to
Yeah.
add the sauna into their weekly routine
Yes.
3 times and not say it's made a difference.
Yeah.
Like if you start to do it routinely, you will notice if you stop doing it. You start to just feel that, oh yeah, no, actually I missed this. I want to go have a bit of a sauna.
Yeah. And actually,
Great
there's sometimes, even if you're doing your favorite exercise, so you're doing, and we all have our kind of exercises that we enjoy, but if you do exercise properly, you'll vary that exercise, and you might change what you do one particular day. So actually, throwing in even 5 minutes in the sauna afterwards, there's that little bit where you
Yeah.
go, okay, you know what? I'm feeling exhausted today and I just can't face it. But I'm going to go because actually I'm quite looking forward to the little reward at the end of it.
Yeah. I use it as a reward.
Yeah.
I'm not a great stretcher, so
Yeah,
it
there
helps
you go.
my muscles
Yes.
definitely.
Yeah.
What I like the best after the sauna is the plunge pool
Yes.
that's at 7 degrees.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I
That
love
does wonders for
It
me.
does.
So I'm menopausal age, and I
Yeah.
have suffered a bit with my menopause. We have talked about it, but that I feel that the cold water really helps me.
Yes.
Oh yeah, it does.
And in actual fact, there's a lot of research, increasing research about what they call cold water therapy.
Yeah.
And interesting that in the UK recently they found that about 3 times more people are cold water swimming now throughout the winters than ever before. Each year it goes up. And a lot of it is dealing with chronic inflammatory problems, particularly arthritis and aches and pains, blood pressure.
Yeah, builds your immune system.
Yeah.
I actually swim at the pool outside at Atlantic
Yeah.
all year. So
Because that's
it's
cold.
open all year, yeah.
Oh,
It's,
yeah.
it's nice and cold.
Yeah, I do. I swim in a cold water pool every day. Yeah,
Yeah.
same thing. Very, very good for your. I mean, there are days when literally you just think, oh, I can't.
How am I
Yeah.
going to get in there?
I can't.
Yeah.
But once you're in,
Yeah.
I think we'll
great.
sauna afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. The sauna afterwards. Yeah.
So, what other ways are there to reduce stress apart from the sauna and apart from exercise? I mean, what about nutrition? So, you are a nutritionist. I know that a lot of what you eat can affect your mental health.
Yes,
I have
definitely.
heard quite a lot about that. So, tell us a little bit about what you would, tell patients, for
Yeah,
example, if they are stressed and maybe they can't do so much exercise.
Well, I think that's something people don't realize that stress actually and chronic stress can actually deplete some of the nutrients that your body needs. So it's really as simple as that. You need to eat real food because that real food will have nutrients, and those nutrients make all of your body systems work well. Obviously, having ultra-processed foods are not ideal because they don't have the nutrients in them and they're not giving your body what it needs. So it really comes down to as simple as that. Eating some real, true food will always be beneficial for you.
And of course, physiologically, if you, depending on it's the best way to think of it with food is that if you eat proper, healthy, decent food, it takes longer for the body to process it, really, doesn't it? If you eat ultra-processed foods, it's a quicker fix. And the reason it's a quicker fix, interesting enough, is because if you eat something ultra-processed, like really, really, really chemical processed, high in salt, high in sugar, what does it do? It stimulates an adrenaline response. That's why people crave it. That's why people crave sugar. It stimulates that adrenaline response to give you that little pickup. And so what you're actually doing when you satisfy your chronically stressed day with an ultra-processed meal is you're just making it worse.
Yeah, you get the fix, but at the end of the day.
And then a drop at the end.
And then at the drop at the end.
Well, and that drop can sometimes be your blood sugar dropping, which actually increases your cortisol levels. So it's really a full cycle, right?
Yeah, we hear a lot about the cortisol levels. Explain a little bit about what that is.
So cortisol is your stress, is kind of your stress response. So cortisol is the steroids. And the steroid is...
That your body naturally produces.
Naturally produces. And the cortisol is like it's the messenger to the body that you need to produce everything else. So adrenaline is clearly the thing which gets your accelerator pedal going. But the cortisol is the thing that basically tells the whole body that you're in a stress response.
And I was going to say something interesting about it is cortisol works in a diurnal pattern. So it's actually when you wake up, it should elevate, go higher through the day, and then go down again before you go to bed at night. And so a lot of people, when they think about sleep and that, they think, oh, well, I don't sleep well, and they know it maybe relates to cortisol, but they don't realize that your body actually is supposed to have this pattern. It's supposed to have a peak of cortisol, but when that peak isn't in the right time of day is when it can also cause issues for you.
That can happen, can it?
Yeah.
Cortisol levels are all over the place.
Yes, because it's all part of that stress response. The body is producing cortisol to deal with stress during the day, because naturally when we're awake and it's light, in theory, on a biological level, we're dealing with stressors. When we come to the end of the day and we're back at home, back in the cave, we're safe from whatever's hunting us, our cortisol levels should come down, which then brings us into the not the adrenaline, the sympathetic side of life, but the parasympathetic side, which is what we call the rest and digest system. So you have a meal, you relax, you sleep, and then you nourish and recover for the next day. That's how it should be.
And a lot of people that you see, Krish, your patients, your day-to-day patients, stress. Is there a lot of people who are stressed at the moment?
Yeah, it's at the root of literally everything. And interestingly enough, post-pandemic, and I'm sure you've seen this. I mean, so to put this in context, pre-pandemic, I would see on a daily basis with the patients I would see in my clinic, I would see maybe 20% would have a kind of anxiety, a psychological or stress element to the consultation. Now it's 40% plus, at least it's doubled. And it's also now gone beyond just the sort of the working cohort of our population. Stress and anxiety very high in young people. Stress and anxiety very, very high, interesting enough, in an older age group. At the age when actually, interesting enough, we should be less stressed. So it's kind of spilled out into the whole community.
I wanted to talk about the anxiety thing as well, because you also practice mindfulness. And there are many ways to be able to chill out.
Mindfulness.
Another way of chilling out.
And say mindfulness and breath work. So a breath work facilitator. And there are classes as well that are great for mindfulness that already run with the Infinity Group, like doing Pilates and yoga. That's great for mindfulness and stretching the body. And then I do breath work, and it's something people can ask me about at any point. I'll be doing a class in April for Stress Awareness Month.
And what does it involve?
So breathwork is really trying to reset your nervous system and put it into that parasympathetic state. So into that relaxed state where it's rest and digest, and getting your body to function in that restful state. The biggest thing for it is actually deep breathing. That's one of the most beneficial things. And if anyone can take something away from this, the simplest thing is to learn how to breathe in all the way down into your belly. And that's giving oxygen into your body, which is going to rejuvenate cells and make everything better. But it's interesting because I've done many classes with kids in that, and you get them to breathe in and you say, hold your chest and breathe all the way deep into your belly, and you have people coughing. And that's because they are actually not used to deep breathing all the way into their belly.
Their lungs aren't used to going that far.
They're used to shallow breathing, and shallow breathing is what you're doing when you're running away from that lion. So you're actually keeping your body in that state of stress just with your natural breath.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Do you when you talk to patients, but I mean both of you really, do you talk about breath work, and how does that go down with people?
I do, but
Yes,
Yeah, because I'm sure
yeah.
if you told the average person, oh, you
Yeah.
need to really deep. I'm not going to prescribe depression
Yeah,
pills.
I suspect if I talk about breathing exercises, while I know it's the right thing to do, they might just say, I'm going to go and find somebody else, another doctor.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
half of the issue here is that a lot of this stuff takes a lot of explanation, doesn't it, for people to
Yeah, and
understand.
people, making people aware
Yes.
that all this is available.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting is, so as a nutritional therapist, I'm a complementary medicine, so I work with doctors.
Yeah.
So I'll have clients who have gone to their doctor and been told they maybe need to make some life changes, and then they'll come to someone like me to make that plan and make some of those changes with them, because we have that more one-to-one time.
Yeah.
You have more of a limited time with clients.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have a very short period of time
Yeah,
to
of
deal with
course.
lots and lots of things, and of course,
Yeah.
it would be lovely to do that. It's very rare that I would be in a consultation where I would talk about essentially the health, whatever this person has come for, with the health issues they have, which have chronic stress at the base of it always, and therefore then ironically have the time to talk to them about
Breathing, mindfulness.
Yes, mindfulness.
What is mindfulness? Just being aware of things.
So that's actually,
is that what it is?
mindfulness is. That's
Because you
really
hear a
what
lot
it comes
about
down
it.
to. I know, and a lot of times people get meditation and mindfulness.
Yeah.
I think there's a disconnect between that too. But mindfulness can be a simple thing would just be being aware. So you're having a cup of your coffee right now, and you're actually taking the thought of sipping it, and you're feeling the texture of the liquid in your mouth. That's aspects of mindfulness. Feeling grounded, so your feet on grass or your feet on, a beach, actually feeling the sand or feeling the grass between your toes. That's all aspects of mindfulness. And I think it's just there's been a disconnect between
very much so.
with people between that and what there is now.
Perfect example is you can see it now, particularly with mobile phones, people lying by the pool. So they, for example, we have a very beautiful pool, don't we?
Yes.
We have lots of very beautiful things, but that beautiful pool which looks out over the sea.
Yeah.
And I look in the summer and people are lying there enjoying, and it's sunny, it's warm, the water's a turquoise colour, it's lovely, the grass around, and they're on their phone.
Yeah. So they're not de-stressing at all.
Well, they're not appreciating where they are, so there's no mindfulness there at all. The truth be told, you might as well sit in your car. Or sit on your sofa.
Resting your engine.
Yeah. So the moment you stop and you just go, you know what, this is lovely. And just appreciate nothing more than just the simple stuff that we tend to ignore. So the sounds, the sound of the sea, the sound of the water, the warmth of the sun on your skin, for example. Even that, concentrating on that alone, brings the chatter of the mind down and stimulates the parasympathetic system, your vagus nerve.
Yeah.
And that in itself is enough to live just even for a few seconds.
Your vagus nerve.
Yeah.
That is
great. It's amazing.
What is your vagus nerve? I've seen little exercise that you can do like this or something to your ear to bring the.
So
is that all true?
Well, the vagus nerve is like your. We use the analogy of the car again. The vagus nerve is your brake. So, for example, the best way to think of it is, now I'm talking about cars again. Okay, I'm not a car expert. Okay, trust me, but. You're now in an automatic car, and you click your automatic car into drive, and your car just whoosh, off it goes. It does its thing.
Yeah.
It's driving in the same direction. So the body is designed to run at a certain speed, and actually the vagus nerve is there to essentially put the brakes on and slow you down. Slow you down, and when you switch the vagus nerve off and you stop using it, whoosh, the body goes off. So it's part of this stress response that the vagus nerve, it's a big nerve, it supplies the whole of the body, calms everything down. It's the bit that supplies your stomach and your gut and the heart. It slows your heart down.
And it's in the brain.
It comes directly from the brain, along with everything. It comes from the brain and the spinal cord. But it's part of that parasympathetic rest and digest, calm, relaxation, anti-stress. It's the anti-stress, and it's interesting. We were talking about this earlier. A lot of evidence coming forward now about vagus nerve work much more. I've seen a lot of it recently. A lot of people now starting to work with it.
It's something I work with quite a bit with clients, but interestingly enough, again, this is something they maybe wouldn't take seriously if you said, but I'll actually tell a client that we know is chronically stressed that when you wake up in the morning, you need to sing in the shower. or
Yeah,
you need to
true.
hum. These
Yes.
are all things that stimulate your
true.
nervous, your vagus nerve. And it's things that, happy people do and just have as part of their
Yes.
life. But it actually is an aspect that will affect that nerve directly and help it work properly.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So if you don't feel like singing in the shower, you have to kind of make an effort. You have to push
Say, or
yourself a
hum.
little bit. do
Yeah,
you?
yeah.
But bear in mind, you're in the shower. I mean, I appreciate that you just rolled out of bed and you've got to think about work and all the stress that's going to work. But
Yeah.
you're in the shower. You're warm. You've got a sensation of water on your skin. It's just that couple of minutes of peace before you get dressed, open the door, and breakfast and chaos and getting to work and school run and all those things. Just in the shower, you don't have to sing. You don't have to hum.
No,
you just
just-
go.
But you're just not
You
thinking
can't take
about
your
everything
phone.
else.
Can't take your phone in there either.
Yeah.
No, very
What
true.
you said before about the phone at the pool is a big thing, because I'm
Yeah.
sure a lot of people are chilling out, in inverted commas, with their phone.
Yes.
And that's not chilling
Yes.
out.
And actually, chilling out, as far as people are concerned, can include everything, including the little games that that constantly play with the phone. And you almost think, I'm going to play that game because
I want to chill
I
out.
want a couple of minutes of almost isolation.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
still
Yeah.
keeping the brain going because you're still three of those.
We're
three of
really
those.
not good. Like, people are really not good at not doing anything.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's against our nature now
Yes.
to go and sit and listen to the birds sing. And like you say, a perfect example is you're out at the pool or you're down in E1, the spa area, and you're just there to have some self-care and do nothing. But there's people that'll have spa treatments and be on their phone. It's
Yes.
the same thing.
crazy.
But the whole point is just to, like you say, be mindful of where
Yes.
you are and just take in some of the aromas and the surroundings and enjoy it.
You were mentioning before that there is a sauna at the Sunburn as well. I mean, what a nice place. The Sunburn is such a lovely place
Yeah, very
to
beautiful.
go and enjoy
Yeah.
the spa there as well.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and I was saying too that the gym space there is perfect. If you're not someone who likes a lot of people around and you're new to training, then it's really nice because you kind of have a little bit more of a private space as well.
And it's very interesting if you look at what people do in a lot of the gyms. These high intensity classes. Yes, they burn the adrenaline, but they create the adrenaline, and sometimes you're doing in your exercise what you've done in your day in a different way, but and then you look at some other people who, for example, go for the weight training. What's very interesting about weight training sometimes, a lot of strength training, is it can sometimes be very mindful. And you go and watch, and it's very interesting if you watch people doing a lot of the weight training, particularly if you're going away on a machine, or you're doing the running machine or whatever, and you look at them and they just lift a couple of weights, and then they'll stop and have a chat, then they'll lift another couple of weights. But actually, very interesting, that they are doing a very different type of exercise. Sometimes they're exercising, they're burning the adrenaline, but they're bringing the body down
Yeah.
at the same time. So very interesting.
Very
how
interesting.
these-
Really,
Yeah.
super interesting. You were mentioning it before about women who are on their going through menopause,
Yeah.
and they go to the gym and they do all these workouts, and actually they're probably doing the completely wrong thing. They're doing HIIT training,
Yeah.
when actually they should be doing weight training.
Yeah, a lot of it is
Now-
weight training and Pilates and
Yes.
yoga and things.
Because it's all about-
It's a mix of both. You need the cardiovascular health. That's
Yeah.
really important.
Yeah.
But if someone has chronic stress and going through menopause, that's going to make their estrogen deplete even more.
Yes.
They need to focus on the right types of exercise as well. It's really important. But I can say with the strength training, it's interesting to tie that back to breathing.
Yes.
Is you'll also notice many people, especially when they're lifting heavy, they are doing the inhale,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
When they are about to lift, and they do the exhale on the lift. And that is really beneficial for you. You're exhaling out at the moment with strength and power.
Yeah.
And they actually are being more mindful of their breathing than they realize.
The other thing that does that is swimming. I do swimming.
Yes.
I do open water swimming, but I've also swam in the pool.
Yeah.
And when you're doing your breathing, your
control.
control. It's
Yeah.
all about breath control. And actually, I feel a bit meditative because after
course.
a good half an hour of swimming,
Yeah.
you're kind of like in another zone.
Yes. Yes, very much.
You get out of the pool a bit.
If you, in fact, in some ways, if you sit down, you look at all the different types of exercise that we can do and we do, and that Infinity operate and offer, but even just the exercises that everyone does. You can see the difference in some of them based on the techniques of breathing. So if you do a high intensity class, often you are breathing
Panting.
really, really fast. You're panting.
And that's- yes, you-
And then, of course, you do some weight training, or you do Pilates or yoga. The difficulty with some of those slower, more vagus nerve type exercises. Let's put it like that.
Yeah.
is it's very difficult sometimes for people to transition it. So, Michelle, think about it from your point of view of your swimming.
Yeah.
You clearly enjoy your swimming now, but it might have found, because I love my swimming now, but it took a long time to get to the point where I started to really, really appreciate it. And I found it very slow, very boring.
That's what my husband says.
Yes. And
doesn't
yoga is
understand it.
perfect. I love my yoga, but I actually sometimes find when I'm finishing off at the end, or when I'm lying down in a corpse pose at the end, my mind's going tick 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 tick. I haven't got time for this. I haven't got time for this. I need to.
I'm still working on getting good at yoga.
Yes.
It's one that I love it, and I know I should be doing it.
So-
but it does. It takes time.
It takes time.
to change
Very,
your
very
mindset.
slow to do that.
So, to recap,
Yes.
right? The Infinity Group has workouts for everyone.
There really
kinds
is.
of workouts.
Yeah.
Yes.
Breathing
Yeah.
ones, mindfulness,
Yeah.
yoga classes.
Yeah, and then the sauna, the
sauna.
jacuzzi.
There's a
Yeah.
bit of everything.
Yeah. Yes.
So it's about staying healthier for longer.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's about being aware of your stress levels and doing something about it, and being mindful about what you do and how you live your life. Any other bit of advice that you would like to mention?
I'd say consistency is really great. You know,
Yeah.
the more consistent. So even if someone doesn't always have the time to train as they think they should, just still going.
Yes.
Going to the sauna for 5 or 10 minutes,
Yeah, why
going for a
Why
swim,
not?
doing
Yeah.
just a little bit of weight training. It all adds up to being beneficial, especially when it's stress related and when you're working on your mental health as well.
Yeah.
And really, I think the message for this is, please don't think that we're saying, oh, you must do yoga, Pilates, and slower exercises and weight training. All exercise is good.
Yeah.
There's no question.
Yeah.
And you see, I do my little every 2 weeks. I do my little articles, which essentially say there are hundreds of thousands of pieces of research that say that all exercise is good. What we're really saying is that it's good to vary. Don't do the same exercise every single time. Try and vary it. And if you are varying it, try and do something which is a perfect counterbalance. So if you are you love your spin classes, you love your HIIT classes, you love doing some, high impact stuff, or going onto the treadmill or using the cross trainer, fantastic. And I will support you 1,000,000% always. But just think about your body and think that maybe one of those days, I'm going to try and counter that. And if it's a single session, and it's going to take you time, you might go, you know what, I'm not going to waste a session.
Yeah.
I'm not going to waste a gym session and
It's
my precious time.
Yes.
In which case, do the
Yes.
5 minutes in the sauna.
Yes.
5 minutes of a gentle swim or something
Yeah.
like that. Something and just
Have a cold
counter
shower
that.
after.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
Do you know the
there's so
cold
many
showers
things.
in the spa
Yeah.
Yeah.
smell amazing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can stand there for like 5 minutes.
For as long as it takes
Yeah.
before you're actually freezing, and then you
Yeah.
jump out the door. Yes. Yeah.
But that's another thing. That's the whole.
Yeah, and that's
The
exactly
smells,
again
actually.
because you're practicing mindfulness, because you're
Yes.
going.
You're
I'm sorry,
aware of it.
Smells
I'm
nice.
freezing
It's
cold, but
all
I'm
Yeah.
aware of where I am. Yeah, and but it's very difficult sometimes. The irony, of course, with chronic stress is that we know that you need to slow down.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw you back a little bit, and sorry, I'm going off my tangents, but I'll throw you back to at the point where the pandemic started. Okay, so we were all in our lockdown, and so everybody was essentially communicating on social media because everyone was stuck at home. And if you remember, lots of people said, this is the time that we should really, really reevaluate life, reevaluate our lives, reevaluate what we do, put things in perspective. Slow down. We live a far too stressful life. Do you remember?
Yeah,
Everybody
yeah.
was talking about that. And look what's happened. We came out of the pandemic and we are 10 times
Yeah.
faster than we were.
Back on
Back
more.
Back on
and
it.
then some.
Yeah.
So we are faster and faster, like a runaway train. We're just going, and at some point, before you end up coming to see me to talk about your high blood pressure that needs tablets, or your
Yes.
heart problems, or your IBS, or your anxiety, or your depression, or all those things, before you get to that point, you go and see MJ, go and see her
Preventive
team,
medicine.
Yeah.
join up,
Yeah,
join the
just
gym,
join.
come and just have a go. If you're not really sure, if you're a bit apprehensive about joining the gym, come.
to someone.
I'm there, so come see me.
Yeah, but there's such a nice team everywhere in all the different places.
Try a little bit of everything.
Everybody
Try
is.
them and
I
find
can
what
say
you
that
like.
honestly. I became a gym goer. I wasn't one. I
Yes.
started going because my daughter asked me to go with her, and I was her support. But I now love it, and I think that Infinity is a great example of that. Is every space you go into, it's warm, it's welcoming. If you don't know what you're doing, someone will help you.
Yeah.
You know, you're able to get the support that you need.
Plus, with that variety, there's so many gyms and so much on offer. You can somebody can always find what they like.
Yeah,
which is
100%.
enormous. Yeah.
Well, thank you both so much.
Pleasure.
For being here
Yeah.
and just talking about it, and it's so good to have these conversations for everyone to hear.
Yeah.
So, and how can we get in touch with you, MJ, if we wanted to?
Yes, well, I'm at most of the locations through the week, so you can just come up and say hi and ask me any questions you like. And my posters are up in the gym as well. So and on Instagram, I'm at MJ Nutrition and Lifestyle. So just send me a DM.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank
we'll
you.
see you very soon.
Thanks, MJ.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.